Northeast Tonight, brought to you by Oil India Limited, conquering newer horizons.
Hello and welcome to Northeast Tonight, the show that decodes the region. The latest Bodo Accord has enthused many in the Northeast. Manipur Chief Minister N. Biren Singh has already begun a peace initiative to try and break the zincs of the Meitei rebels not being part of any peace process so far. But the bigger question is, after the new Bodo Accord, does the government now run the risk of dealing with demands by communities or groups in areas where there already has been peace accords to clamor for more? Has the accord opened a Pandora's box by stirring the imagination of those already enjoying autonomy who may now feel that maybe another deal could be struck for more powers and concessions from the government? After all, the question has arisen or could arise because this has been the third Bodo Accord in 27 years for the same people and the same general area. To discuss the issue, I am joined from Shillong by Dr. Prasenjit Biswas, professor at the Northeastern Hill University. From Guwahati, I am joined by Professor Akhil Ranjan Datta of Guwahati University. And in the studios, I have with me political analyst Swapnanil Barua and senior journalist and commentator Susanto Talukdar. Gentlemen, welcome to the program. First of all, I'd like to go to you, Prasenjit Biswas. Do you get a sense that the Bodo Accord could actually spark, some kind of fresh kind of demands for more autonomy, even in such areas where people are already enjoying autonomy, whether it's a development council, whether it's an autonomy in accordance with the 6th schedule of the Constitution? Do you think this latest Bodo Accord has the potential to stir the imagination of the people even more?
Yes, I mean certainly the Bodo Accord is a trigger for asking for greater concessions from the centre, especially the long-standing demands of certain ethnic groups who are asking for greater autonomy under Article 244 of the Indian Constitution, which allows state within state in the state of Assam can be revived, especially by Autonomous State Demand Committee of Karbi Anglong. Apart from the Karbis, I can see Dimasas also are already having certain kind of discussions between them, a confabulation to really talk about and ask about more autonomy for Dima Hasao Dauga Council. Similarly, in case of the other non-Bodo tribes like Rava Council and other smaller tribes, they may all go for asking more economic packages from the center and also preservation, propagation and protection of their cultural, linguistic and ethnic rights. And therefore, Bodo Accord has opened up a new process of negotiation and political negotiation in the region.
All right. So, Prasenjit Biswas thinks that, Bodo Accord could spur a fresh agitation in the sense that fresh demands by some of the groups, and some of these groups, including those who are already enjoying autonomy. So there is a possibility. He's referred to Article 244. He's talking about Article 244A that provides for, or at least has the provision for a state within a state. Dr. Akhil Ranjan Datta, do you agree with what Prasenjit Biswas has said? Will it open this new Bodo Accord? Do you think that it has already opened a fresh formula for dialogue to enhance one's autonomy or enhance powers in already existing autonomous councils?
No, that has already been happening, and as Prasenjit has mentioned that in Karbi Anglong, ASDC was already there and they have been demanding it. But we need to remember that all ethnic groups have also been observing the political dynamics in the context of Bodos. The Bodo politics has a larger electoral implications. They understand it very well. And they have also observed that all segments of the civil society have come together despite a lot of conflict within, they have been in a position to show up this solidarity among them, which has not been happening in case of other ethnic groups in the state. Therefore, although that has triggered kind of aspirations on the part of the other ethnic groups, my understanding is that the leadership of those ethnic groups will also be looking at it very critically before coming to the forefront and demanding more autonomy on their part.
All right. So the electoral, that's a very interesting point, Swapnil Barua, which Dr. Akhilanjan Datta has made. Maybe in the Bodo heartland of Assam, it has, everything you do has much bigger electoral implications. And that is for the simple reason that the area, that is the Bodoland territorial region as it is called today, that particular area has 12 assembly seats. Whereas whether you talk about NC Hills or in Karbi Anglong, it doesn't have that many assembly seats.
Combined is 5.
Combined is 5. So do you think, therefore, that there is not much of a cause for worry, but does it allow us any kind of complacency, because an agitation is an agitation and it has to be dealt with if at all it happens?
Well, see, I personally have a different experience.
Yeah.
Whenever there has been some kind of a negotiation that one group has been settled politically, they feel that whatever settlement is done is not the final settlement in terms of the money that is flowing in or expected, or the fund that is required in keeping with the aspirations of the accords that are signed. So, a pressure group is maintained by the people within the power structure to create a certain sense of, disruption or anxiety or whatever word you may use for it, to pressurize the government so that the combination in power can always tell the central government that, look, you are giving us this much of money, but this money is not sufficient. I still need more money because there is a group which is against us and may any day disrupt the peace and stability which has been achieved by the accord.
Yeah.
So that kind of a nexus also operates within the system, as a result of which we might always find a permanent kind of, if not turmoil, at least disturbance on the surface in all the autonomous council, thereby leading to more demands as a projection and negotiating on that point.
Now, Susanta Talukdar, do you agree with these three views? Now, Prasenjit Biswas has also said, now Akhilanjan Datta said electoral implications much more in Bodo heartland, and Swapnil Barua saying that there is we cannot say that every accord, we can say of no accord that it's a final solution to that particular issue. The same issue, no accord can say for sure that that will be the end. Now take the case of the Bodo Accord. Everybody is now saying it has brought the curtains down to not only insurgency but to the demand for a separate Bodoland state. Do you agree? And how do you look at this whole thing?
No, these accords are not closure of the demand for ethnic homeland. Rather, I think that what you have said in the beginning, the new Bodo Accord is only going to revive the ethnic homeland dream, because that's a territorial autonomy. And when we talk about the 6th Scheduled Territorial Council, there are new areas of governance and power sharing. Like when in 2003 the previous Bodo Accord was signed, just 2 years after that, in case of missing autonomous council, the compact area and the satellite area concept came, where you have cluster of villages having total population of that scheduled tribe to be more than 50%, and then the satellite area where you have the villages which have the 50% ST villages. Now there is absolute confusion about the powers and functions of these autonomous council under the state acts, which have been created under the state acts. So these councils are demanding upgradation to the 6th schedule, because they feel that whenever they have a compact area to be demarcated as a territory, and then with more powers of funding the projects. Now some of the councils even cannot appoint fourth grade staff. They are asking for even right to appoint the staff. So the mayor.
So the demands and aspirations will increase.
It will increase.
Spiral,
rather.
It's
spiral. Now, Dr. Akhilanjan Datta, do you think in view of all the four panelists today have more or less agreed on one thing right at the beginning, that this accord is good. We are all happy with the accord. You all are happy. No one, I think, is unhappy with the accord, but there may be apprehensions, but nobody can say that you are unhappy for the simple reason that as many as 4 insurgent groups have laid down arms. They have agreed to demilitarize the area, because laying down arms by 2,000 plus people is obviously demilitarization. Now, to that extent, we are all happy. Of course, apprehensions by certain other people, including people who are not Bodos living in that area, their apprehensions are there, but that's a different issue. My question is, Dr. Akhil Ranjan Datta, can we say that in view of this, is it now necessary, whenever we sign an accord, do you think it is necessary to make it clear once and for all that this is the final accord on this solution? This is the final accord as far as a particular region or a particular territory is concerned. Has it become necessary now?
No, who will do that? Who will do that? I don't think that any government will afford to do that, because by saying that, the government will only be committing a political blunder. No, the government has also been negotiating all this with all these groups in a manner so that their aspirations are also kept alive. A look at 2003 agreement was also signed by the NDA government. Now this 2019 agreement has also been signed by NDA government. And if you say that we have come to a conclusion, we have to come to the final closure, the negotiating skills, negotiating avenues, both for the government and also for the ethnic groups, will come to an end. Therefore, I don't think that any government will afford to make such announcement.
Okay, Prasenjit Biswas, now the same question to you. Because of the circumstances, because of our experience, what we have been seeing in the last 2 to 3 decades of accords in the northeastern region, do you think it has become necessary? Do you think it is possible for the government and the negotiating parties to say that yes, this is the final accord? Will there be a black and white sentence saying that this is the final agreement as far as the Bodo issue is concerned, and there will be no demand for a separate homeland? That is also not written in the present accord even. Although it has been made clear that Assam's territorial integrity will remain intact. That's the only sentence that is mentioned in the latest Bodo Accord. But my question is simple. Is it time to have a sentence saying that this is the final accord as far as a particular issue concerning a particular region? Is it possible, or is it too much to expect? Okay.
Whom are you asking? Are you asking me?
Yes, you. And only you. Prasenjit.
Yeah. To me, no. Sure. No. I'm going to say that this accord actually acts as a trigger, and the government wants to use this trigger for its own political contingencies to meeting certain electoral and political ends. And this is very
but did you hear my question? Did you hear my
Bodo Accord?
Sorry,
the Bodo Accord brings to the table various sections. and
Prasenjit,
asks them
I have to
their
stop
arms.
you here.
But that's not the end of the story.
I have to
In the
stop you here,
borderland area,
Prasenjit.
there is a
Can you hear me? Question. Have you heard my question? My question is:
sure.
Is it possible or not from now on?
Yes. I'm going to. I'm going to that. Yeah.
Carry on.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. I'm saying that the trigger has been passed over to other states as well. You can see in Arunachal Pradesh there is a clamor for Nishi Students Union asking for certain special rights for itself. You can see in Nagaland tomorrow there is going to be a discussion about Naga peace deal in Dimapur. You can see in other places following this Bodo Accord there is a burst of political activities, and which I don't know which way it will culminate and which way the larger politics of Northeast will be shaped as an effect of this Bodo Accord.
Okay, but Swapnanil Barua, if the Bodo Accord has led to dialogue in the entire northeastern region, people are wanting to give up insurgency, civil societies are coming forward to take the initiative, like the Manipur and governments are coming forward, like Manipur Chief Minister N. Biren Singh. He is already supposed to be, talking with Mizoram Chief Minister Zoramthanga, a veteran in negotiations in the 80s that led to the 1986 Mizo Accord. He was one of the persons. They started from first discussions in Rome, where discussion was held by none other than Laltan Haula and others. But the point is, Swapnil Barua, what is the harm if the accord spurs negotiations, discussions, dialogue in the northeastern region? I will ask you to respond as well, Prasenjit, little later. Swapnanil.
I think, yes, there's no harm. Obviously, this is one step forward, then there'll be one step backward, and that is how the whole negotiation process goes ahead. But Wasbir, one thing always remember that every accord leaves a certain section of that society within the geographical area dissatisfied. Whether it's the Assam Accord or the Bodo Accord here, a certain section or a large chunk of the population is left disturbed by the agreement that has been reached in between certain two groups and the government or one group and the government. So there is always a dissatisfied element that will be there within that particular area, and therefore your question of whether that can say that this is the last and final accord, I think that word can never happen.
That can never happen. It's too much.
And one thing is definite, that this peace process, everyone has seen the benefit, or rather everyone has seen the no gains out of the insurgency. We are at back to square one every time we begin. And so the people have realized that who has benefited in the long run? Nothing. People have been under the Armed Forces Special Power Act, police have been draconian, a lot of measures have happened, and society in Northeast have by and large now realized that at least this insurgency must end.
Yeah, I agree that the accords are not closer to any demand. I mean, it will be wrong on the part of the government.
No, you are saying that no accord can close a demand.
No accord can close the demand, and there is no harm in opening dialogue with all the groups. I agree with Mr. Borua that what is the harm in opening the dialogue? Rather, the government should have sustained dialogue.
Yes.
Because see, I mean, we are talking about accords, new accords, but then implementation of the accord in the letter and spirit. That is the key. That is the key.
Joint Secretary Home Northeast will have no work if the accords are sealed.
No, I mean, like the why the groups are like the Rava groups, Basing groups, the Tiwa groups, they signed accords for autonomy, and then autonomy was promised. But then now they allege that the autonomy that was promised, powers and functions that were promised to this council have not been given. So they are raising the fresh demand that we should be given, our council should be upgraded to territorial council in the 6th schedule. So then our aspirations can be fulfilled.
Okay.
So the government should open dialogue with this group before any other group takes up arms or takes it to a violent.
Akhil Ranjan Datta, you see now no accord can close an issue. No accord can close a particular issue. Now let's look at the new Bodo Accord. To some interpretation is that it has brought an end to the Bodoland statehood agitation. But do you now think, from what Mr. Hagrama Mohilari, the leader of the Bodoland People's Front, which incidentally is the ruling party in the Bodo area, he has said that it is very unfortunate that the NDFB and the All Bodo Students Union has sacrificed and declared that there will be no Bodoland statehood demand. They said that they have compromised. Do you think now it will be Hagrama Mohilari and the BPF which will be at the forefront of a Bodoland agitation demand? And if that happens, where is the closure?
As I said in the beginning, that there can be no closure of any accord. Every accord fuels lot of aspirations on the part of the signatories and also on the part of the people. But once the accord is signed, lot of promises are being made and lot of aspirations are fulfilled. Lot of aspirations are fueled. But as the process goes on, the aspirations are not fulfilled. If you look at the BTC Accord, it also fueled a lot of aspirations, for example, giving ST status to the Bodus in the hills. That couldn't be implemented for last so many years. Now, same thing will happen in case of this particular agreement too, particular accord too. And once these aspirations are not fulfilled, there will certainly be a lot of new demands, either for statehood, even for secession and independence. And in that context, I think Hagrama Mohilari is very he is very right. He is very correct. He is very cunning. He is also trying to keep the government in a balance, telling that even if we have signed an agreement, that is not the end to the aspirations of the Bodo people.
At the same time, Prasenjit Biswas, the BPF, the Bodoland People's Front will also must
Right.
be weighing heavily because the elections are coming and they have to stay politically relevant because it's obvious that the new groups are either going to join an existing or side with an existing political party, or as indicated, they're going to form a new political party. Therefore, the BPF has to stay relevant. At the end of the day, it is pure political dynamics in electoral political dynamics at the end of the day. Nothing more, nothing less.
Yes, the electoral political dynamics will have now new players, but how these players will organize themselves as opposed to BPF or in favor of BPF is yet to come out in the open. No one is opening their cards yet. Cards are kept secret in their sleeve. Govinda Basumatari has challenged Hagrama Mohilari, you see, and this is something very significant. We even don't know what is the position of the other two factions. So therefore, APSU has made the idea very clear that they are going to open a new political party, but whether that will materialize at the end or not is a big question. So therefore, the scene in Bodoland so far, in my understanding, remains in favor of BPF. That is to Hagrama Mohilari.
No, Swapnil Barua.
Yes.
What could have been an alternative option with the government? You see, let's take, suppose you were to take a position that, okay, we will not sign any more accord because it might lead to similar kind of agitations elsewhere in the northeastern region, because ethnic aspirations is a continuing process in the northeast. There are a lot of groups and communities who are asking for either upgradation of their existing autonomous councils. The development councils which are not within the 6th schedule are saying that, okay, we want autonomy, we want to upgrade it to a 6th schedule autonomy under the provisions of the 6th schedule, give direct funding from the government, so on and so forth. So aspirations are a continuous process. My question is, suppose, what were the options that the government have had it not signed a deal with their, after all, at the end of the day, it's a question of bringing 4 militant groups, including a live militant group who is active to the negotiating table and agree and make them surrender or lay down arms.
Wasbir, I think, as I said, or as you said, that this accord is basically has a great component of demilitarization of the whole area. Now, that itself is a very great option in favor of the accord. Leave aside the aspirations of the borough. I mean, as a home minister, first and foremost would possibly be that he would like to see that there is no violence in any part of the country. So, that option was the first option weighing on the home minister. And in the process, I think the concessions accorded to the borough people are a supplementary to the main target of demilitarization of the whole BTC area or BTR area now. And certain tinkerings has been allowed. BTC has been given a R accord, which I think is they are trying to fit into the political science definition of a specific region instead of an advisory council kind of a thing, which existed before. This adding geography is something which the boroughs want, and peace is something which the government of India wants.
Right.
So the agreement and accord is somewhere a bridge in between them, which I think will be continuously going on when new issues will rise. See, today I think the borough APSU session is going on, and Pramod Borough has exempted himself from the APSU to join UPPL, if I am not mistaken. So this gives an indication that the battle lines are gradually being drawn.
Battle lines are drawn. Now, Akhil Ranjan Datta, do you think a solution lies in not going for ethnic autonomy? Do you think a solution lies in, do you think the solution lies in not going for autonomy on ethnic lines? There should be autonomy, there should be regional autonomy rather than autonomy on ethnic lines in the name of a particular ethnic group. Do you think there lies that things would have been much better had it been that?
For that, the very character, very nature of the state has to change. The nature of the state has to change to the extent the ownership of the resources has to lie in the hands of the people. It has to, if the government can ensure universal health, universal education, if the government can ensure that the poverty will not be there, marginalization will not be there, there will be no discrimination on the grounds of caste, creed, religion, sex and ethnicity, only then government can think in terms of giving autonomy in the name of the region rather than ethnic communities. Now, the whole strategy of giving autonomy in the name of a particular identity or ethnic communities also to keep the people fragmented so that they cannot unite themselves and fight against the kind of policies that government has been pursuing. But under the present arrangement, I don't think that government will do that.
So I'll have to go for a break, but Susanta Talekdar, very quickly.
Yeah.
Ethnic autonomy, that means autonomy on ethnic lines. Okay, it's a Bodo Council, Karbi Anglong Autonomous Council, and see why go for a Rabha Council, so on and so forth. Why not go for a regional council?
Yeah.
Is that the panacea?
In fact, the six-schedule, the concept, it had the concept of regional council also, but that was not implemented. Like when you have other tribes and communities, so you can create regional council for them. But then these were not implemented. So these options were there. And I think this, while the reservations are made, it is not made in a tribe, any tribe or community. It is in the form for the scheduled tribes. So when you expand the list of scheduled tribes, then the power equation changes. The power equilibrium takes place. So these
there were provisions for regional councils which have not been implemented.
It was not in BTAD. It was not in BTAD, but in the Karbi Anglang and Dima Hasao council, this regional council concept was there.
All right. So at the end of the day, it is non-implementation of certain good ideas.
But there is a politics to it also. I think whether we can have a non-ethnic regional council, which will be, finally, how do you elect the MLAs and MPs that are going on? One tribe will say that
at the end of the day, it is vote bank politics. Whether ethnicity is used as a vote bank, we'll come back and discuss this issue. We'll go for a short break. Don't go away. I'll be right back. Welcome back. Prasenjit Biswas, at the end of the day, do you think it is vote bank politics?
Yeah.
Ethnicity can be a very good political issue. So this is an allegation that,
Yes,
one can
at
easily
one
give
level,
regional autonomy, but you will all the time give autonomy on ethnic lines.
Yes, and that is at one level is a double-edged sword, I must say. At one level, ethnic autonomy might organize an ethnic group in favor of a political party, but it is not forever, it's a short-term policy. In the long term, the ethnic group will demand a greater autonomy, which if a state cannot fulfill, there will be a point when the demand for ethnic autonomy will be so shrill that the state won't be able to really meet it. And that will be the time when ethnic movement will again crop up, and it will destabilize the region once again.
Now, Swapnil Barua, from what has emerged in this discussion, as also earlier discussions, is that, you see, there cannot be a moratorium on peace talks. At one point of time, couple of years ago, the Union Home Ministry was toying with the idea. I'm not saying they have decided. They were toying with the idea of whether they can call a moratorium on peace talks in Northeast India. How long can this peace talk? Like this, our country is on an election mode all throughout the year. Now the elections in Delhi is over. Now we are getting ready for the elections in Assam and West Bengal. Tomorrow there will be elections in Jharkhand, so on and so forth. So 24/7, 365 days a year, this country is on an election mode. That's a separate issue for debate. You will have to be present. Now the point is, now you see on this issue, can there be a moratorium on peace talks? It seems unlikely, because now there is an initiative to bring the Olfa independent to the negotiating table. Now Biren Singh is engaged in bringing the valley-based insurgents, and there are plenty. They are in abundance. The militant groups in Imphal Valley are in abundance.
And the hills are also
And the
there,
hills are plenty of them. Now, so do you think this exercise is going to go on forever? Journalists will keep on covering. We will be discussing these debates, never ending on these peace talks and so on and so forth, and nothing happens in the region. And you keep on discussing, talk peace. But before you can sign an accord, there will be new groups will be formed, and the cycle goes on. So, what do you think should be done? Is it a very, very vicious cycle?
Well, in a sense, it's a vicious cycle, but the fact remains that once the emphasis shifts on mere government jobs and government created opportunities to more widespread opportunities throughout the country, I feel that this insurgent mode or move will definitely end now. At least let us say the very young Naga boys or very young tribal people who are now Manipuri, you find them throughout the country. So that intensity of the struggle which was there is being held on by leaders who are 50 plus. And the following has been, a riffraff kind of a people have been ending to it. But once the education level and the opportunity level is increasing, people are not concentrating on remaining within the northeastern region or the state of their birth, but spreading out throughout the country, which I feel is one way of dealing with the solution. And till that such a time happens, I think certain amount of negotiation has to go on and certain amount of, packages have to be dealt out with, because consider the packages. A 1500 crore package may seem very important, but 1500 crores taken out onto the ground will not even get you 100 kilometers of roads.
Okay.
We think the aspiration that has been created around the 1500 crores looks very big. But what can really 1500 crores give to make a complete change of the picture? I don't think so it is going to.
Okay, Ranjan Datta, moratorium on peace talks is not possible, so keep talking peace.
No, see, this is also one or the other way of extending very state to the grassroots. If you look at the Bodus, for example, for the Nagas and all other ethnic communities, they have their own understanding of their community's own customary laws and so on and so forth. They have a sense of egalitarian society and having control over their own resources. Now, as the state is trying to, capture the resources of the communities around, regions around, it is important that they also create the local elites and local ruling class. If you look at the Bodus, for example, the Bodu ruling class, emerging Bodu ruling class, they have become an important ally of all political or all incumbent governments, and that is necessary. Therefore, when we talk about the peace accords or peace process, we need to understand it doesn't only aim at bringing peace, it also aiming at, taking the very state to the grassroots, and it is happening in a big way throughout Northeast India.
Now, Susanta Talukdar, basically, what do you make of this whole thing? Now, do you think if accords can trigger the demand for fresh accords, don't you think peace talks can also encourage new militant groups to be formed? Because you have seen people surrendering, there are rehabilitation schemes in place. Let me tell you what is the government's latest rehabilitation package. 6,000 rupees per month for 3 years. And at the end of 3 years, rupees 4 lakh in fixed deposit, based on, of course, good behavior. There will be a committee which will recommend case by case basis. Suppose there are 500 surrendered rebels, in a designated camp or outside, everybody will get 6,000 rupees per month for 3 years. At the end of 3 years, rupees 4 lakh in fixed deposits will be given to them, subject to the clearance by this committee, which will also look into their whether good behavior and all. Apart from them, skills training is also being planned. Now, do you think if accords can encourage or come up with movements for accords, do you think peace talks can encourage fresh militancy? Because this has been one of the common arguments by many in the Northeast.
Yes, this is the common argument, but then peace talks will not lead to fresh insurgent groups sparring in the region.
Will
not if provided you engage with the democratic forces of the society constantly around a year. I mean, whenever there is a demand from the democratic section, Like I mean, the government had to wait for signing an accord with the factions of the NDAB, but then the APSU was hesitating for long. I mean, why All Bodo Students Union was not given priority in signing the previous BTC accord? I mean, so there are other groups in other council. So the people have there hasn't been any birth of any insurgent group, but then there are groups they are raising the demands. So the government has to engage these groups into sustained dialogue. If you do not do that, then it will spark. And we were going to blame the unimplemented peace accords.
Now, Prosenjit Biswas,
Wasbir, can I just, a point is coming to my mind at the moment.
Yeah.
So far we have not given any responsibility to the people who have signed accords of ensuring, especially insurgents, that please take steps to see that none of this group that you have now, the strength does not increase any further. It has been left to the government or to the district administration to see that no more people go and join the ranks of further things. I think these accords must also enjoin a responsibility on the people.
So they also have to take some responsibility.
They have to take a responsibility that, look, we shall ensure that none of our youth will go and join the ranks now. We have become a part of the peace process, and they must assert their political presence there. And the government should also make a link in between the benefits of the accord coming in and preventing further escalation of peace.
Okay, that may be too much to expect.
No, because we have not left any kind of onus on these people to...
Because now take the case of the Olfa Pro-Talk group. They have come over ground, they are engaged in negotiations for the last 9 years with the government of India, and we don't know what has happened, what is the outcome, nobody knows. Now the issue is the Olfa Independent headed by Mr. Paresh Barua, people are still going and joining him. So nobody has been able to prevent that. It may have come down, it may have gone up, that's a different issue, but people are still going and joining him. Some of them are coming out and joining the mainstream. So this two-way process is going on, people going in, people coming out. So whether that stops or not is a matter that is left to be seen. But yes, you have a point there. But Prosenjit Biswas, indeed a catch-22 situation, isn't it? Peace talks. There can be no moratorium, but you keep on doing peace talks, and more militant groups might, be formed because they know for sure that while being a rebel group, they can indulge in certain extortions and other things, and when they give up, they will be getting rehabilitation grants and benefits. So, do you think it's a win-win for the rebels? I'm not talking about every rebel group, because there are rebel groups who have ideology, who have a particular reason, but not all of them. There are small insurgent groups which are formed, which cash in on the situation as and when they get some opportunity.
Yes, but this comes at a cost. If you remember, many of them are mercenaries. For example, surrendered group of Olfa earlier, or even the Jomi National Liberation Front, and many such other tribal communities, ethnic insurgents, have become a kind of a pro-state entity. So therefore, if somebody really compromises on the basic principles, one cannot remain as an insurgent for a cause. But in contrast to that, there are several. The core insurgent outfits of Northeast, you can look at them. They haven't compromised on their core demand of sovereignty and right to self-determination. Now the question is how the central government negotiates these critical demands is very, very important. Bodo groups have left certain demands, including the demand for divide Assam 50-50. So if people can be forced to leave certain kinds of demands, probably negotiations can happen, but that is easier said than done.
Easier said than done. But now, Dr. Akhil Ranjan Datta, the case in Nagaland is absolutely different in the sense that, from 1997, it was the NSC and IM with whom the government achieved a breakthrough and then began negotiations. Then it was the NSCNK, then the NSCNK had unilaterally snapped the ceasefire and carried out that massive ambush in Chandel district of Manipur, killing 18 army troopers. And after that, it took a long time, several years, for the NSCNK to come back to the negotiating table. In the meantime, 6 to 7 other NSCN factions. They formed an umbrella group called the Naga National Political Groups. But in all this, you had civil societies like the church and the Naga Mothers Association providing the cushion to see that all these groups do not go haywire and remain and part of the peace negotiations. But unfortunately, whether it is Manipur, in Assam, this kind of a strong, closely knit civil society does not exist. So the case in Nagaland is completely different, isn't it, Akhil?
So I said it in another show. I said it that in case of Nagaland, for example, also in case of Bodoland, you have some unifying forces. In case of Nagaland, it is the church, because Christianity is the dominant religion there, and Christianity and the churches play a very important role. Had there been no the churches, probably situation would have been different. You cannot compare the situation with that of greater Assamese society. In case of Bodus too, the accord has been possible because the language has been, because the whole movement started with the language, and Bodu language remained the same language, one language. And therefore, if you have some unifying forces, either it is a language or it is a religion or the church, this situation would have been different. Manipur is therefore a totally different case. In case of Nagaland, therefore, the civil society is playing a very important role, and all segments of the civil society have direct or indirect link with the churches.
Okay, now Swapnanil Barua and Susanto Talukdar, why I was asking that question to Akhil Ranjan Datta is that, because of this unified, or rather unfragmented civil society in Nagaland, they may actually prevent the emergence or formation of new, fresh rebel groups, because of this. Because we have never heard of a small rebel militant group suddenly formed in the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Whatever has formed. It was only the NSCN faction that has split into different factions. There is no new militant group which has been formed in Nagaland under a new name. Everyone is NSCN. Right? Yes. So, but they have a different faction, NSCN Unification, NSCN Reformation, NSCN K, NSCN I, so on and so forth. Now the point is, and of course, I should not, for the record, the NNC, the Naga National Council, is not part of the peace negotiations. They are completely outside it. That the group originally formed by Angami Zapu Fizo, that's a different issue. My question is, why I asked that question, do you think, therefore, since there is no, unfragmented, so since there is since the civil society here in the northeast, other parts upside Nagaland is disjointed, do you think they have no control over the formation of new militant groups? So therefore, they cannot guarantee that one accord will lead to a complete, stop or halt in insurgency.
Well, I think that I would rather see it in a slightly different way. The situation in those, especially in Nagaland, had come to such a state that it had become a battlefield, a killing field everywhere. So the civil society got desperate that if things continue like this, every one of us is going to come under a bullet at some point or the other. That situation, unfortunately, has not happened in Assam. But as things emerge, or if things go beyond control, I think the civil society will rise. Like in the car agitation.
Are you saying that civil society will wait for situation to go out of hand before reacting?
No, I think there is a certain push factor which will be there. But because without a push factor, I don't think the civil society will really come out on its own to take on to an issue.
No.
It must be something, as you have seen in Assam, the civil society groups that have been formed have not been sponsored by anything, but the situation has been such that they have personally felt out and found out a commonality among themselves to come together and form a group to resist a particular act of the government, or suggest to the government that please do something about X problem, Y problem or Z problem.
Now, Susanta, how do you look at it? The same question.
I think that you're right. Disjointed society, civil society. So you cannot expect any closure of any issue from one single accord. So it will continue. But then yes, as Professor Datta in his earlier remark emphasized on creating the avenues like for jobs, education, health. When resources are distributed equally, covering all the sections of the society, then these could be minimized. And then I have been emphasizing on the fact that you have to engage with the overground unarmed factions which have been raising demands democratically. Because they have been, because when we are talking about the BTC or BTR record, you have been discussing with the Bodos because they have political equations in the state politics. But then you are not talking to the other ethnic groups who have lesser political influence in the state politics. So you have to engage with the other all ethnic groups, the overground democratic organizations who have been raising their demand. So at least bring them to the negotiation table and discuss with the power equations, new power sharing formula, what happens to the accords already signed. So these are the accords not signed with any insurgent groups. These are the accords signed with the democratic organization, unarmed groups. But then the same groups have been raising demands that their accords have not been fulfilled or implemented. So you have allowed the dissatisfaction to rise among these groups where the people are still not armed. So you cannot expect the disjointed civil society to play any role in ensuring that there will be no rise of any armed insurgency again in the other parts of the state.
Dr. Akhiranjan Datta, your final comments.
No, I think civil society is very important, not that civil society in Assam has not been playing any role. And I was mentioning this in different shows in your television only. But, this is very important to look at, that our civil society is very fragmented, both ideologically and also in terms of ethnic divisions and so on and so forth. Now, if the commonalities can be created, that these demands will have universal implications, then only we can have united civil society to go ahead with and demanding the government that these are the common things that has to be reached out and that has to be fulfilled by the government.
Final comments, Swapnil Barua. 30 seconds.
Please talk to everyone whether he's holding a gun or not holding a gun. Every dissenting voice has to be heard and responded to.
Every dissenting voice has to be heard and responded to. So basically what you were saying is that talk to each and everybody which is in the arena. Now, Prasenjit Biswas, at the end of the day, do you think accords are good, bad, ugly?
Yes.
But we need these accords because we have to talk, people might dismiss such kind of initiatives as firefighting measures, but what alternative do you have? If militants hold you to ransom, go on a rampage, go on roadside bombings, would you keep on analyzing? What options do you have? So accords have become a necessary evil in the Northeast.
The necessary evil should not become a total opportunism, because accords create a segment which is benefited and a huge section remains left out. So there will be a crisis between the benefited and the left out, and that will create political imbalance in the region. The region on a long-term basis must not run into that kind of destabilization of itself.
All right, I think at the end of the day there is no option but keep talking. At the end of the day, we need peace, particularly in a region like the northeastern region where there is hardly any development activities. Peace should not hold development to ransom. Law and order, I beg your pardon, law and order should not hold development to ransom. Therefore, peace accords. So at the end of the day, whether peace accords will spur more demands within the groups already enjoying autonomy, whether peace talks with tribal groups will encourage more militant groups, actually that is only, we have to wait and watch. But at the end of the day, there is very little option before the civil society as well as the government. But at the end, yes, this Bodo Accord, no one can deny the fact that it has been a very big achievement for the government of India and the state government to bring 4 militant groups who are active to the negotiating table and make them lay down arms. So we hope better days prevail in the Northeast, including Assam. On that note, I thank all my panelists for engaging in these discussions and the viewers for watching the program. Good night and goodbye.
Northeast Tonight, brought to you by Oil India Limited, conquering newer horizons.